She walked along the narrow path, hands stuck in her pocket with her eyes closed. Yes, it was dark, almost midnight, but she couldn't care less. Denim pants with white boots and a blue tank top that hugged her petite figure eloquently. This was her look, and hers only. No one would lay claim, nor attempt to copy her from fear, afraid she would attack or other absurd things. Her name was Isobel Kiln, a pure white hedgehog with blue stripes that flowed well with her attire choice. At the young age of 15, Isobel was alone on a strange planet named Earth. Total badass girl, quote. That's what she had been named. Her unfazed look presented with danger. Her piercing glare whenever she was irked. To complete the bad girl look, she carried 2 guns with her. People and Mobians alike perceived her as a threat, thus kept their distance from the hedgehog. However, this was not the case. In fact, it was the complete opposite. Isobel, known as Izzy to anyone who dared to get close enough to the feared female, was not an evil-hearted being. No malice could be found within any bone, organ, or muscle of her body. Her attitude and look preceded her, but she had a heart of gold. The thought of harming another repulsed her. However, there was one thing that she could never do. Cry. "Big girls don't cry," she mused, pacing casually along the street. A rustle to the left drew her perceptive sapphire eyes to glare in the direction. Her look intensified at seeing something squirming within the shadows of the dark alley that veered from the sidewalk. A frown replaced the scowl at hearing a faint whimper echo. Isobel took slow and cautious steps into the alley, edging towards the moving shadow. Her hands hovered above her guns as a precaution, and she stopped fully at hearing light sobs. "Who's there?" Isobel called, a little harsher than first expected. "Please, don't hurt me," squeaked a timid voice, causing the hedgehog's frown to deepen. Isobel stepped closer to the trembling mass, kneeling down when close enough to get a good view while being out of harm's reach. A petite rabbit was huddled in a corner, cowering away from Isobel while clutching something in her hands. "Please leave me alone." Isobel stood, tilting her head cautiously at the frightened rabbit. "I'm not going to hurt you, sweets." She held out a hand, offering the smaller form a friendly gesture. "I'm here to help you." "Help me?" the rabbit squeaked, glancing up at Isobel with hope-filled, watery eyes. When she saw nothing but sincerity in the other's actions, the rabbit slowly took Isobel's hands with a shaky grip. Isobel pulled her to her feet, while the rabbit wiped her eyes and gave a small, shy smile. "Thank you, miss." "What are you doing here at this time of night? And all by yourself?" Isobel queried, squatting to get closer to the rabbit's height. A fearful expression crossed the rabbit's face, and she took rapid glances about the alley. "I can't tell you. Please save me from him." "Him?" Isobel frowned, placing soothing hands on the younger female's shoulders. "Tell me, who is this him? And why would you need protection from him?" "If he finds me, he'll kill me. Please," the young rabbit cried out, attempting to bury herself within Isobel's clothing, as though it was a safe haven. Isobel cradled the frightened being to her chest, her eyebrows furrowed from confusion. Come on, kid, let's get you away from— She stopped, her acute hearing picking up another rustling from the mouth of the alleyway. Her cerulean orbs narrowed, taking in the figure stood there, blurred from the shadows and little light. "Who are you?" A dark chuckle was her response. The darkened shadow walked towards both females, words dripping from his mouth like liquid malice. "I found you, weakling." The rabbit's eyes widened with great fear, and she jumped behind Isobel, shaking visibly. "Please, don't let him hurt me." Isobel's gaze, however, remained upon the approaching form. The small rabbit held on to the taller one tighter, her broken sobs heartache to the hedgehog's ears. The shadowed creature halted, a low growl emitting from the area around him. "I suggest you let that rabbit go, girl. I suggest you take a hike." Isobel sniffed, her expression blank of emotion. A grunt of irritation reached her ears before the mass stepped into the poor lighting. An obsidian hedgehog with red stripes faced her. Vexed sapphire hues met cool blue. "Don't cross me, girl. I won't hesitate in cutting you down to get what I desire." "I dare you to try anything, Spike. See what you get." The icy tone to Isobel's usually docile resonation shocked her. An irritated sigh departed the black hedgehog's mouth, and he vanished on the spot. Isobel's eyes widened slightly from shock before she sensed a presence grouping behind her and the rabbit. Spinning briskly on the spot, she took the rabbit with her before pulling out a gun with her spare hand, just in time to deflect a hard kick directed at her. Ticked-off sapphire orbs met with taunting red, and she growled, "Don't make me warn you again, Spike." A dark glare was cast her way before the black hedgehog proceeded to jump away before spin on the spot rapidly, building up enough power to cause a miniature tornado to sprout, black in color. Isobel found herself being dragged to the vortex. With a panicked thought, she grabbed the rabbit under her arms and leapt backwards, avoiding the keen suction. However, she then found herself stuck between a hedgehog and a hard place, a dead-end alley. "Damn it," Isobel hissed, feeling the intimidating eyes back upon her. Upon reflex, she stood in front of the rabbit, arms spread out protectively. "Leave her alone." Another growl came as her reply. "Get out of my way, girl." "I'd like to see you make me Spike," Isobel replied, mockery dancing in her tone. "As you so solemnly wish, girl," he snapped, suddenly moving faster than what she could keep up with. Before Isobel could react, a fist came to the side of her head like lightning. Instant. She fell with a loud thump to the floor, a small cry of pain passing from her lips. Another blow to the head was all it took to knock the female out cold, causing a cry of distress to emit from the rabbit. "No, miss, are you okay?" The dark hedgehog looked down at the rabbit, grabbing her upper arm in a firm grip. "You're coming with me, girl. It was foolish to run away like that. Did you think you wouldn't be caught?" The petite rabbit let out a choked sob before looking at Isobel. "Please don't leave her here." The dark hedgehog stopped, glancing from the rabbit to the unconscious female on the floor. "I don't have time for this. Please, please take her with us. I promise to be good," she pleaded, struggling in the tight grip in a vain attempt to get to Isobel. A sigh of dismay and a glare of irritation stopped the struggling. Isobel's unconscious form was hoisted over the hedgehog's shoulder. He paused before looking at them both again, and with another sigh, The doctor will have a fit over this." Isobel groaned, a hand automatically rushing to gentle rub her throbbing head. What happened? A small voice to the side of her head startled the hedgehog. "Miss, are you okay?" Gazing to her left, Isobel saw the small rabbit from before kneeling next to her. "Oh, it's you again. I'm fine. How about you? Where are we?" A faint, sad smile graced the rabbit's lips. "I'm so sorry, miss, but he found me. He brought me back here as well as you, after knocking you out. I've been tending to your wounds. I hope I did okay, miss. After all, this is all my fault." Isobel stared at the young female before shaking her head. "No worries, sweets. This isn't your fault. I decided to intervene and fight, not you, so cheer up, okay?" A small nod was all it took to make her smile. "Oh, by the way, I'm Isobel, or Izzy, not Miss Savvy." The rabbit nodded. "Okay, Izzy, thank you for saving me. You're a very nice hedgehog." Isobel nodded, smiling softly. "Of course, I wouldn't leave you to fend for yourself. What's your name, anyway?" "Oh, how rude of me. My name's Lily. It's a pleasure to meet you, Izzy." Isobel smiled at the young rabbit, ruffling her hair. "The pleasure's all mine, kid. So where are we again?" Lily's smile vanished instantly and her eyes dropped to the floor. "I'm sorry, Izzy, but we're his prisoners." "His?" Isobel frowned, searching the girl's fearful eyes. "Tell me his name." An audible gulp followed a series of light trembles. "He is the dark hedgehog, Izzy." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Pokey Captain." She began to tremble again. "He's so scary." Isobel's face distorted as she thought deeply on the matter at hand. Pokey Captain, as Lily said, was the one who attacked them in the alley. He fit the picture, after all, dark in color and soul. "What does he want with you?" Lily fought to make a small smile appear on her face. "I had a Chow's emerald. He wants all the Chow's emeralds to take revenge on the planet." Alarm broke out across Isobel's face as she locked eyes with the younger female. But she could utter a word. A door came sliding open in front of her, drawing both of their attentions to it. In the doorway was the black hedgehog from the previous night. Lily recoiled at the sight of him, scooting nervously behind Isobel. Isobel looked at the frightened form before back to the door. So this must be Pokey Captain. Pokey Captain looked around the room casually before his gaze came to rest on Isobel. "You're awake." Evidently, she stated bluntly, her tone void of all emotion. "Why am I here?" He either ignored her or didn't hear as Pokey Captain looked past Isobel at Lily. "You, give me the Chow's emerald." Lily, fear etched into her expression, yelled from behind the white hedgehog, "I don't have it. I lost it." Pokey Captain grunted, folding his arms over his chest. "Don't mess with me, girl." "She's telling the truth," Isobel butted in, earning herself a glare. "You can move on to tell me why I'm here now." Sighing, Pokey Captain looked back to the elder female with an annoyed expression. "You may want to keep your comments to yourself if you like living, girl." "The name's Isobel, Spike. Get it right." Her tone was stoic, mimicking her expression. She wasn't intimidated by the black hedgehog, nor was she fearful. "I know who you are, Pokey Captain, but don't particularly care. What I want to know is why I'm here, and why Lily is, and when we're both getting out of here." Shadow rubbed his temples, biting back another while talking through gritted teeth. I don't know why the doctor wants to keep you here. I would have disposed of you the other night, have gotten the chance. Lily whimpered from fright before grabbing a hold on Isabel's hand, clasping tightly. The white hedgehog attempted to soothe the young rabbit's nerves while keeping an eye on the threat placed before them. But Pokey Captain continued, a stony look in his ruby eyes. I'll tell you one thing, girl. If you misbehave in any way, I will hunt you down, and you will wish you were never born, you got that. Narrowed blue eyes locked onto the hedgehog's form. Yeah, I got that. Now kindly remove yourself from the room. You're making it look untidy. A sudden blow to her already aching head caused Isobel to fall back, clutching the place that was struck in her hands, groaning softly from the thumping pain. A small kick to her side helped her roll over onto her front as something heavy seemed to sit on her back. Next, a deep, threatening tone breached her ears from close proximity. Learn some respect, girl. I'll be the end of you if you cross me. With that, Pokey Captain got up off the white hedgehog and stormed from the room, the door shutting behind him. Lily, who hadn't moved to cower in the corner, scuttled towards the injured female rolling on the floor, aiding her to sit up with highly concerned eyes. He didn't hurt you too bad, did he? The other shook her head, and Lily's eyes brimmed with tears. With ears. I'm so sorry, Izzy. This is all my fault. Pokey Captain wouldn't have taken you if I didn't ask him. We're never going to get out of here, I'm so sorry. A soft sigh left Isobel as she embraced Lily in her arms, attempting to soothe the other's distressed state of mind. Don't cry, Lily. We'll make it through this, I promise. A pathetic sob sounded from her chest as the rabbit continued to cry. We'll be okay, I swear. We can do this. Months passed, and the slumbering form of Isobel was at rest. Izzy, Izzy, help me. He's trying to get me again, came Lily's scream, waking the sleeping hedgehog immediately. Isobel shot from her bed like a released spring, grabbing the screaming rabbit by her wrist, dragging her out of the room, down the hall at an extreme pace, for one who's just woke up, that is. She had to be fast, for knowing how fast their pursuer was. Turning down a corridor, they jumped into a room on the right, shutting the door behind them. Quickly, in there, Isobel hissed, shoving the rabbit towards a closet. Be very quiet. We can't let him find us. Lily nodded frantically, eyes wide. Okay. Just as the closet doors were shut, the room's main door came slamming open, a figure obscuring the light, casting a long, dark shadow across the room. I know you're in here, he smirked as shuffling came from the closet. Foolish females. The doors to the closet opened so suddenly it forced a small cry of surprise from the white hedgehog. Pokey Captain, on the other hand, frowned at seeing only the white hedgehog in there. A small smirk crossed his face at seeing larger ears behind Isobel. Move. No, Isobel stated simply, a trace of a smile on her face. Move before I make you. I'd like to see that happen, Spike. You're not so high and mighty, are you? She asked, a smirk gracing her pure white features while an eyebrow arched in question. I'm not moving. Then I'll make you move, he hissed, grabbing Isobel firmly about the waist before throwing her over his shoulder, smirking as she cursed his name as he held her above his head. Foolish girl, he whispered, ruby eyes coming to rest upon a wide-eyed Lily. Ah! A battle cry ripped from Lily's throat as she pounced on Pokey Captain, tackling him to the ground in the process. Over the past few months, Lily and Isobel trained together, and Lily had improved greatly. Pokey Captain released his grip on Isobel from the shock of the smaller rabbit homing attacking him, and she took the opportunity to jump away from the bundle before hopping back on, aiding Lily in pinning the obsidian and ruby-colored hedgehog. "We got him," Lily smiled a smug smile. "You lose, Pokey Captain." Pokey Captain growled, a blast of energy suddenly flowing from his form, sending the females flying off of him. They found themselves hanging in midair, immobile, while Pokey Captain casually got to his feet, brushing himself down. "Pesky females, I do believe I win," he said, folding his arms while smirking. "Only because you cheated," Lily scolded, upside down. "Cheater." He raised an eyebrow as both masses fell earthbound. Ouch. Lily jumped to her feet, attempting to tackle the dark hedgehog again. However, this time Pokey Captain was prepared, and so was able to grab the smaller form by her ankles. Lily found herself hanging upside down again. Silly rabbit. Lily responded with a growl, fists going 100 miles an hour, as she tried to hit Pokey Captain, but was only able to swipe at thin air. He sighed, and then smiled darkly. "It's over now. You're mine." Lily's eyes widened spectacularly as Pokey Captain began to relentlessly tickle her. Laughing helplessly, Lily only just noticed Isobel sneaking up behind Shadow. Isobel pounced onto the hedgehog, creating another pile as they fell off balance. Silence followed before heart-filled laughter. Sitting up, they all looked at each other, fell silent, and began to laugh all over again. Isobel finally halted her laughing and took to smiling at the black hedgehog instead. Pokey Captain, noticing this, returned her smile with a small one of his own. Lily grinned broadly and chirped up, "Aw, you guys used to fight all the time, and now look at you." Perplexed, both hedgehogs gazed at the delighted rabbit. "What do you mean, now look at you?" Isobel queried, curious. Lily looked at Isobel and stated in all seriousness, "You're both acting as if you like each other." A small gasp departed her before she asked, "Are you boyfriend and girlfriend?" Pokey Captain's eyes widened, and he stuttered as Isobel's mouth dropped open comically. "No, Lily, we're not. We're not together. Don't be silly." Lily shook her head, sighing somewhat sadly. "Oh well. Izzy, I'm tired. Will you take me to bed and tuck me in?" Isobel smiled at the young rabbit and nodded. "Of course. Come on, Lily, bedtime." Lily took Isobel's offered hand and yawned as she was directed to her room. Lily squealed at the sight of her bed and hopped in, snuggling to her pillow as Isobel tucked the covers around and over her small form. "Good night, Lily." Lily yawned before murmuring, "Night, Izzy and Shadow." She fell asleep, moments later peaceful. Isobel smiled softly, turning to see Pokey Captain waiting in the doorway, leaning against the frame, watching with intrigued, ruby eyes. She smiled at him, but began to notice something different from before. Her stomach gradually tightened, and her vision clouded. Breathing became harder, and she began to panic. Pokey Captain. "Izzy, are you okay?" Pokey Captain asked, concern lacing his gentle tone. "I don't know. I feel faint," she muttered before her legs gave way. Pokey Captain darted out to catch her before she collided with the floor. Sighing softly, Pokey Captain picked up the white hedgehog gently and took her to her own room, lying her limp form down upon the plush bedding. A small smile clung to his face as she watched her sleep. She had never looked so peaceful. Lily thought we were together. Foolish girl. No matter how much he tried to deny it, Pokey Captain knew he had feelings for the white hedgehog. They had sprouted over the past couple of months and continuously grew. A part of him hoped that she returned the favor. However, he could not ask nor expect her to return any kind of feeling, as he was keeping a secret from her. Izzy, he whispered, leaning over the plush white fur coating her form, placing a sweet, soft kiss to her forehead. I hope you can forgive me. And with that, the black hedgehog's presence was no more, and the chill from his absence cast a terrible tremble over Isobel's sleeping form. Isobel woke with a start. Her body was cold and shivering, yet the air about her was warm and welcoming. What the hell? She asked quietly, another shiver ricketing her body. What happened? I'll ask Pokey Captain. So she got off her bed, departed her room, and began her search for said black hedgehog. However, Pokey Captain was nowhere to be seen. Worry and panic beginning to rise, Isobel ran to Lily's room, intent on asking Lily if she knew anything of the black hedgehog's disappearance. However, the sight she saw when entering the room gave her a terrible feeling. Lily was up and awake, looking depressed. Lily glanced up at the white hedgehog, tears glazing over her eyes. I'm so sorry, Izzy. Lily, what is it? Why are you crying? And where's Pokey Captain? Sorry, he made me promise not to wake you. Lily let out a sorrowful cry, covering her face with her hands. Isobel, past the point of worried, pried the rabbit's hands away from her face, high concern plaguing her sapphire eyes. Lily, what happened? Why did you promise with Shadow? Please tell me. Glistening eyes fell downwards before a soft whispering filled the room. He's gone, Izzy. Pokey Captain's gone. Isobel frowned, releasing the rabbit. What do you mean, gone, Lily? He left last night. He left on a mission. But... Silence. Then, but why, Lily? Tell me. I don't know if he'll be coming back, Izzy. That's why he made me promise not to wake you. He knew you'd not let him go. Lily's hand flew back over her face as she fell into deep, painful sobs, cradling the blue teddy bear Pokey Captain gave her a while back. Isobel knelt there, stunned. Rising slowly to her feet, she backed out of the room, softly whispering, "You're lying," and "He can't be gone," over and over again. With a moment's hesitation, Isobel turned and ran to Pokey Captain's room without stopping. Upon reaching the door, she barged through without knocking. She always knocked, and it was rude not to, and found her fears confirmed. Pokey Captain was gone. All his precious objects gone. The photo of him, Lily and herself, that was usually perched on his nightstand in a silver frame. Gone. Isobel slid down the doorframe, staring ahead of her. He really is gone. After what he promised to never leave us, he's gone. Anguish, sorrow, and rage unfolded within the white hedgehog's mind, and she lashed out in a blind rage. With a fluffy of dancing flames in front of her eyes, she ran in the room and grabbed the nearest thing to her, promptly lobbing it at the wall. It connected with a loud crash, causing Isobel to wince, her fury dying down somewhat. She gingerly looked over what she had thrown, an alarm clock, or what was left of one. Her gaze then lingered to his nightstand, and a frown encased her features. There was an envelope propped up against the lamp, and her name was written on the front. Huh? A note for me? Picking up the paper, she opened it and unfolded the concealed paper inside. Isobel, please don't be angry at me. I was going to tell you, but didn't know how. The thought of making you upset haunted me. Oh, and I'm fine and dandy now, she growled, wishing she could glare holes in the paper, but continued to read regardless. I have to leave on a mission. This is not a normal mission, however. I'm traveling the universe in search of the final Chow's emeralds. This is why I didn't tell you. I didn't know how long I'd be gone for, or whether I'd make it back. That's supposed to make me feel better, she squeaked indigenously, tempted to screw up the paper right then and there, but an odd prickling at the back of her mind urged her to read on. Like I really care what else he has to say. Please don't be sad. If anything, be angry, but never sad. Don't cry either, there is no need. I have one more thing to say, so bear with me. I'll miss you, Izzy. I can't stop thinking of you, it's like you're permanently in my head. The sound of your laughter, the picture of your smile, those eyes. I'm glad we met that day in the alley. What I'm trying to say I think I'm in love with you, Isobel, and I never wanted to leave you. Whether you believe that or not, I cannot press on how real this is to me. And I'll make you one last promise, Izzy. I swear to you, no matter how far away I am, no matter how long it'll take me for me to return, I'll find you. I love you, Isobel Kiln, and there's here's to hoping, no praying you'll return my feelings. Wait for me, Pokey Captain. I. Isobel put a hand over her mouth, disbelieving over what she had just read. He told me not to cry. I don't cry. Not even over stupid hedgehogs I've grown to love more than anything. Getting to her feet unsteadily, Isobel used Pokey Captain's bed as a guide to his window ledge, grasping the polished wood like a lifeline as she peered out the spotless window at the setting sun, deep orangey red burning into the horizon. A sudden jolt shocked her body as a small hand entwined itself in hers, and she looked down into the smiling, sad eyes of Lily. Returning her gaze to the sunset, Isobel's mind cleared all but of one thing, one certain hedgehog. I'll wait for you, Pokey Captain. I'll be here. The story of Isobel Kiln, the young Lily Rabbit, and Pokey Captain doesn't finish here. Oh no, not yet. Isobel and Lily waited for Pokey Captain's return eagerly. Each night, Isobel would stand and look out at the horizon to see any sign of the dark hedgehog's return. It would seem the two of them would wait forever, if needed. 4 years passed, and they both grew. Isobel grew older and wiser. Lily grew also, growing into a tough 16-year-old, strong and determined, with an aspiration larger than anyone Isobel knew. However, underneath the tough cookie exterior lay a generous and sentimental young rabbit. Her greatest ambition was to help anyone and everyone. Isobel also grew, transforming from a scared, lonely teenager to a proud and protective parental role for young Lily. Her bad girl reputation carried on, so not many wished to tango with the hedgehog. Regardless of this, Lily still knew she was a kind and caring individual who wished for nothing more than for her missing person to return. No, their missing family member. To this very day, they are still waiting. Izzy, Izzy, come here quick, Lily yells, causing a calm Isobel, who was reading, to jump a mile in the air, her book sent flying over her head. Isobel had been reading up on how to improve the cookies she's making. Hang on, Lily. I'm on my way. The white hedgehog yells back, spin-dashing from the kitchen along the hallway and into Lily's room, panting breathlessly. "What's—" Lily turns to face the hedgehog with a frustrated expression. A massive pile of clothes on the floor next to her. "Izzy, I need help. Kyo's gonna be here any moment, and I haven't got anything to wear. Help." "All right, sweets, calm down," Isobel soothes, pondering lightly. "Why don't you borrow my black dress?" Lily stops in her tracks, glancing sideways at the hedgehog. "You serious, Izzy? Isn't that what Pokey—" "I want you to wear it," Isobel confirms, smiling as she makes her way to her room, fishing out a certain black dress. Finding it, she turns to hand it to the waiting Lily in the doorway, a look of uncertainty plastered upon her feminine features. "Here. Are you totally sure, Izzy?" Lily asks, frowning. Isobel nods again, smiling brightly. Lily's face lightens instantly, and she hugs the elder of the two tightly. "Wow, thank you, Izzy. I dunno what I'd do without you." Isobel returns the smile with a soft one of her own before Lily departs to change. 10 minutes later, and the doorbell goes, startling Lily, causing her to panic again. Isobel shakes her head, holding the frantic rabbit still. "You look amazing, Lily." "You sure?" Lily asks, receiving another nod. "Thanks, Izzy, you're the best." Both females make their way to the door, but Isobel is the one to open it, scowling lightly. Kyo Fox is there, looking rather nervous. Back by 10. Lily's eyes roll to the back of her head. "Of course, how about 12? 11, deal, later, Izzy," she calls, running down the path with Kyo to his motorcycle. Isobel watches her go, smiling. Suddenly an alluring aroma catches her mind, and she frowns. Gasping suddenly, she yells with shock, being the cookies, and hastily makes her way to the kitchen, seeing smoke arise from the oven. Seeing smoke arise from the oven. "Oh no!" comes a whiny tone, and she opens the oven to be submerged in smoke, choking slightly due to the thickness. Grabbing the tray from the oven, Isobel retreats to the kitchen door, allowing the smoke to wave through the open kitchen window before returning. A sad look takes refuge in her eyes as she glances down at the cookies that resemble charcoal. They were going so well, too. Sighing, Isobel let the cookies from the tray slide into the open bin, and departs the kitchen in a solemn mood. Her cooking skills had improved drastically over the past few years, but alas, not well enough to bake cookies. It almost broke her heart. Making her way to a very familiar place, Pokey Captain's room, the one with the balcony, and the steps out onto the wooden flooring welcoming to the cool evening breeze to pass over her. Raising her sapphire eyes, she takes in the sight of the sunset, a sight she had grown very fond of viewing. Taking a pew in the deck chair she placed there months back, Isobel lets the sounds of nature enhance her mind before she falls into a light slumber, calm and peaceful. She wakes with a start many hours later, instant shock overcoming her at seeing the pitch-black sky overhead like a thick, starry blanket. Squealing with sudden worry, Isobel jumps from the chair, making her way to Lily's room, throwing the door open. Her heart returns to her chest from her throat at seeing the slumbering form of the young rabbit there. A small smile overtakes her previous expression of fear, and she closes the door silently, not wanting to disturb Lily. Making her way back to the other room, Isobel takes a step out onto the balcony and instantly notices something different. On the chair where she was previously resting is a singular white tulip. The shock makes her forget to breathe suddenly, as if it is her favorite flower, but that couldn't be possible. Only Pokey Captain knows of her favorite flower. Only Pokey Captain knows that she prefers singular flowers to bunches. Only Pokey Captain. Turning her gaze out to the scenery, Isobel rests her hands on the railing that runs around the balcony and shouts out to the stars. I know you're out there. I know you're here. Just come out and show yourself. We've been waiting long enough. A choked sob catches in her throat, and her eyes water. I've been waiting long enough. Nothing but a cool breeze answers her heartfelt plea. Closing her eyes tightly, Isobel's head lowers, slightly parallel with the floor. Don't cry, don't cry. You got that right, Isobel. Confused, hopeful sapphire hues snap open, glistening in the sudden light from the rising sunlight, Turning slowly on the spot, Isobel dares to hold her breath as her watery eyes come in view of a sudden figure standing on the other end of the balcony. The figure in question is holding a white tulip lightly in one of his hands, gentle ruby orbs peering in adoration at the white hedgehog. You're back. Isobel whispers. It takes all her willpower to not break down right there. The crimson hues soften at hearing the voice addressing him, and his gaze lingers tenderly upon her shaking form, longing, sorrow, and great happiness radiating from him in great waves. A warm, loving smile tugs onto his face as the white hedgehog closes the space between them within a second, warm arms embracing each other, as years of tender love come to play. I told you I'd find you.